Good evening, everyone. I'm Ved Sharma, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the second webinar in the Think Humble educational series. So today we will be talking about DevOps, what it really means beyond automation, how professionals can build a career in it, and how AI is reshaping the role in DevOps. And to guide us through this discussion, we are privileged to have Mr. Sanjay Gore with us. So talking about Sanjay, he brings over 2 decades of leadership experiences across organizations like, Visa, FICO, Reliance Jio, HealthEdge, Altimetric, and Ampulse. He has led many large-scale, cloud transformations, reliability engineering programs, and AI-assisted operational initiatives across, fintech, healthcare, SaaS, and telecom domains. Apart from it, he has successfully built and led high-performing, remote and globally operated, distributed active support functions to strategic platforms and reliability organizations. Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Ved. Thank you for the introduction. I'm excited to join and share practical insights on how DevOps professionals can evolve in the AI era, not just by learning tools, but by expanding ownership, system thinking, and more importantly, understanding the business perspective and what is the impact that they make. Looking forward to an engaging discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. We are really excited to dive into your insights. So let's start with the basics and, set the foundation for everyone here. So how would you define DevOps in 1 or 2 simple sentences, especially for someone who still thinks that, DevOps is more about CI/CD or automation?
I would keep it simple. DevOps is how we help teams ship software faster, but safely, by sharing ownership of delivery and reliability as well. It's not just CI/CD. CI/CD is just one piece, I would say. DevOps is a full operating model, how we plan, build, test, deploy, monitor, and improve without breaking customer trust. Automation is the how part, I would say. DevOps is the how plus the ownership and the accountability. And if CI/CD is the engine, if most of the guys think that CI/CD is the engine and the heart of DevOps, I would say DevOps is the whole car in that case. Let me ask you guys something. Basically, it's just a thought and a question to the folks around is, why do you think organizations hire DevOps or AI engineers? Any comments, or you can put your inputs on the chat. I'll give a minute.
Guys, if you don't have your thoughts around it, you
Continuous chat is off, so I don't think they'll be able to. Maybe I'll just go ahead.
All right, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say if you're a DevOps engineer, you would say we automate repetitive work, build reliable systems, speed deployments, and reduce human error. And the focus is more on efficiency, reliability, and automation. Now, if I ask the same question to a CTO, he would think differently. He would say, okay, I am basically focused more on how about scaling infrastructure, integrating AI, reducing the incidence cost, building secure and resilient architecture as well. The focus will be scalability, strong architecture, and risk reduction for the business. And if I ask the same question to our CEO, it's going to be more in terms of, what's the business agility that we have, faster time to market, competitive advantage, and measurable ROI. The focus is growth, speed, and results. So, the intent here is to, make the folks understand that when we talk about DevOps, it is not just about tools and services. However, what is the impact that we make on the business, and how can we drive business, much more faster and a reliable way as well. Over to you, Ved.
Yeah, that's a great way to simplify it, Sanjay. I think that clears up a lot of misconceptions. And now for those who are just starting their careers, this is something many people are curious about. So if someone wants to enter DevOps today, what should they focus on? And what mistakes should they avoid?
I would say for beginners, I will suggest they should not start with the tools, start with the foundations. The best DevOps engineers that I have seen and I've worked with have been strong on Linux basics, networking basics, Git, cloud fundamentals, be AWS, be Azure, or be GCP, they have been good on containers, and then basic understanding of the CI/CD concepts. Because I've seen there are folks, who have been really awesome in, say, writing a Terraform script, but when we talk about, okay, what should the real pipeline be like, I see them fumbling around. Yeah. And then after that, you learn Kubernetes, Terraform, and observability as well, because those make sense once you understand the basics. Now, mistakes to avoid, and this is very important. One common mistake is tool hopping. I've seen folks in the past, and to the folks recently as well in my previous organization, that they prefer hopping onto tools and want to understand all the 10 tools that are around and not really understand the basics of it. So my urge would be focus on the tool, pick one tool, have it mastered, maybe not at 100%, but at least 60 to 70%, so you are able to do your job correctly. Second mistake, and that is a trend that I've seen, is copy paste learning, especially copying the YAML files and Terraform files. And it works today, that's fine, it may work on that environment. However, it does break the production, and that creates panic. So the best approach is build one simple project end to end, even if it's a demo, create pipeline, deploy to cloud, monitor it, break it intentionally, and learn how to recover. That teaches real DevOps thinking. And AI actually helps beginners a lot. It can help you be your tutor, ask, why did this fail, explain this error, give me options, and that can be a guide as opposed to being the source of the truth. Yeah, over to you.
Very practical advice, Sanjay, I must say, and I'm sure beginners here will find that extremely helpful. So now moving ahead with my next question, I'm just gonna flip the question a bit. So if someone is a mid-career and wants to transition into DevOps, what would
Yeah.
you recommend them?
As I said, mid-career thinking about transitioning into DevOps, good news, they are absolutely realistic and they can, of course, move. However, I would say DevOps isn't just about tools. It's about maturity and systems thinking. And you already have that, I believe, since you are in a mid-career. That's the way I would look at it. First, choose your entry lane based on your background. If you're from development background, I would say focus on CI/CD and release engineering. If you come from infrastructure background, focus on your cloud and infra as code, and maybe also automate the entire workflow of provisioning, configuring, installation, deployment, and also performing the upgrades. And then I would call out for the folks who have been working already in operations, or I would say tech ops, is move towards SRE and AI ops. That would be I would say a clear roadmap in terms of their experience, their skills, and how they can move forward as well. Second would be build a real portfolio. That is a must, not just certifications. Guys going through a number of certifications. I see them, they have come out with, really good grades. However, when it comes to practical activities, again, they are not at the pace, or they fumble around, or, they make basic mistakes. So I would say just don't perform on this, focus on the certification, focus also on the journey and understand and build those projects accordingly. I would say create a Terraform project if you're working on Terraform, build a CI pipeline, set up monitoring dashboards, and simulate an incident with a proper runbook and postmortem. Maybe work with the operations. If you are from, say, infra, work with the operations team. If you are from development, work with the infra and the operations team, and vice versa as well. That will give you more clear picture and more insight in terms of how are you also going to evolve as an engineer. And yes, use AI to accelerate your learning, generate templates, understand patterns, but don't skip production judgment, rollback strategy, last 8 years, security and cost control. Those are going to be your key components that you really need to think about. Those are the pillars on why you are getting into production, and you should consider, that we are providing quality to our customers. Mid-career professionals win by combining experience and, I would say, modern platform skills as well. So that's pretty much from me based on this. Any thoughts from your end?
That perspective is actually very important, especially for experienced professionals evaluating their next career move. So yeah, now let's talk about something everyone is thinking about nowadays. That's AI. So from your experience, how is AI actually impacting DevOps today? And what parts of DevOps will still rely, heavily on human judgment despite automation?
So I would say AI is definitely impacting DevOps today. but in very practical way, not hype. I'm seeing AI help in three areas. In first is developer speed, second is operations, and the third is on risk detection. I've seen most of the organizations focusing on these three areas because that is where they are getting the buck and the value for it. When you talk about developer speed, AI assists with scripts, YAML, Terraform modules, pipeline fixes, even writing tests. That reduces time on repetitive work. Second, I would call operations. AI is now helping teams to summarize incidents, correlate alerts, and even suggest likely causes based on logs and metrics. It reduces the noise and speeds up investigation. And most importantly, I would say this also helps the team to cut the noise alerts. Also, importantly, I mean, the issues that they have gone through, we can build a heat map around it, and then they can also work based on the RCA and the earlier inputs that they have also received. The third is, of course, risk detection. AI can flag risky changes early, like missing validation, security misconfigurations, or patterns that usually lead to rollbacks. However, I would still take a step back and say, don't just rely on AI. Ensure that you can use it as a peer review. That's fine. However, you need to ensure that, okay, someone does validate the code entirely as opposed to saying it is working on my system. And now what human still needs to do is decision making under ambiguity, right? Trade-offs like cost versus reliability, incident leadership, communication and prioritization, and most importantly, accountability. I mean, you can't just take a code and say, okay, fine, this is going to run on my system, and then you get into prod, and then we get a bill of 100K. That's not how it's going to work, because if you go back to the prompt and say, okay, this was wrong, it is just going to tell you sorry. But you are the one who's going to get impacted. The organization is the one that's going to get impacted. Yep. Over to you, Wade.
That distinction is really insightful. And looking ahead, this is probably the most important question for professionals today. So the question will be, what should DevOps professionals focus on, to stay relevant, trusted, and impactful in the AI era?
Good question. And this has come to me on several occasions from either my ex-colleagues or even the folks that I worked with. And recently, I did go to a college and had given a sort of a session over there, and similar question I also got from them as well. So I would say, I mean, I'll be very practical. Over the next decade, DevOps professionals who stay relevant will do three things. First, they have to become system thinkers, not just how to deploy, but how the whole system behaves under the failure, reliability, security, cost, and scale. Second, they will think like platform product builders as opposed to just writing code, writing a script, writing a service, and saying, okay, I know AI, I've created a RAG and I've deployed it. That's not the way it's going to be. Instead of being the team that gets tickets, they will be golden paths, self-service, paved roads, so developers move faster safely. I mean, the focus would be always how do we ensure our IDP is robust enough where it ensures developer productivity. That is always going to be a top priority, even for the engineering teams as well. And the third, I would say, is AI is a force multiplier. AI will help you work with runbook search, incident summaries, change risk scoring, and automation. But with governance, we have to be very careful. We have to work with the security teams, come with a sort of a governance approach. And what should be the framework when we are saying, okay, we are leveraging AI, be it LLM or SLM? Do we have the right checks done by the security teams where we get the go ahead? And as opposed to we directly deploying on production, how do we ensure that that's a staged approach and a gated approach, of course, based on criteria? Lastly, I would say the key is AI won't replace DevOps engineers, but DevOps engineers who use AI will replace those who don't. And that's the reality. So the mindset should be reduce toil, increase trust, stay accountable for outcomes, and most importantly, take the ownership. And I'll end with one liner, and that is tools will change every year, but the ability to ship safely, learn fast, and lead during incidents, that will always be valuable. And guys, this is coming from my personal experience. I've been in this industry for last, I would say, 28 years. And I've seen I was an ASM developer, then I was a mainframe developer, and moved on to middleware, then got into DevOps, working on Puppet, Chef, Terraform, CloudFormation. So I would say tools are going to come, tools are going to go. However, you need to have understanding on what the base is and then work towards it. Over to you, Ved.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was really very, very, very informative, I must say. And I would like to ask one last question from our side. And before, we open it up for our audience questions. So
Mhm.
yeah. So my question would be, what would be some of the AI integration use cases for DevOps?
Um, I mean, I can call out few of them. However, I mean, I also want to call out to the members over here, the team over here, is that this is the first session, and guys, we are going to have a couple more sessions where we are going to focus more in terms of what are the requirements, what is the problem statement, what should be the BRD form as such, and how do we select tools, design our solution, and also implement the same. Uh, Coming to your a question, with I would say agentic deployment automation, deploy node, maybe it can be a sort of a radius node and so forth. Then we can also focus on AI-driven incident intelligence. Something that we did in our previous organization was predictive FinOps and cost intelligence, where we also had an AI-generated infrastructure. Of course, I would not say we had gone completely into production. We did a small POC, and that worked well for us. I would call out for most of the development teams and engineering, it would be policy as code and compliance automation. That is going to be a key. I did came across a couple of use cases that one of the organizations was working on, and one of them was rack-powered DevOps knowledge system. One was change management system where there was no individual or a human sitting and doing this entire change management process. It was the end-to-end flow mapped with Jira, mapped to GitHub, mapped to basically your Slack channel, and then the entire process and the workflow was autonomous as opposed to a human driving it and taking calls. For severity one, of course, there were a few human interventions, but I would say that is still required as opposed to be saying okay everything is fine and we can get into production and get the releases out. I would call out then, of course, generated AI pipelines, autonomous Kubernetes upgrade and management that can also be done through agents. And most importantly, I would say, as opposed to just agents and building n number of agents, I would call out how can we build agents and skill them as opposed to leveraging 10 different agents, have agents, and based on a use case, they can go ahead and trigger the appropriate workflow that is required. I can also talk about a use case over here where we can focus on agentic deployment automation. The intent is going to be how do we get into production. I would say deploy Node API with Redis in dev. The role would be intent parsing, policy validation, repo scaffolding, CI generation, GitOps commit, progressive rollout, and auto dashboard creation. Because if you look at all this, pointers and stages, this is going to provide you the entire solution on how that has to be built. And for that, what is the business impact? I would say 70% faster provisioning, reduce SMA dependency, consistent golden paths, and that is what really the business is looking forward for. So, I mean, I would say these are a few of the use cases that we can go forward with and implement.
That was really insightful, Sanjay. And there are, a few questions from our audience as well. If you can, go through the comment section, or if you want, I can, simply read it out
Let
loud for
me,
you. You can. There are a few questions, like 4 or 5 questions. So
okay, let me go through for this. Frozen on things of flexibility point. Wait, Sharma, okay. Um, a question in everyone's mind. My job will survive in AI era as DevOps engineer. Um, I would say why not? I mean, the thing is, are you willing to unlearn and learn? That is going to be key for you. I mean, if you say, okay, I'm really great at Jenkins, and I have met few folks who have been, experts in Jenkins. I really applaud that as well. However, that's something that could, be in demand across organizations. Maybe in, I would say 2015 or 2018, not now. Now, I mean, you need to focus on Argo CD. Are you leveraging Helm charts and so on? And again, depending on which cloud you are you also able to leverage those services? That is going to be key. So yes, I mean, uh, you need to learn. understand how AI works, how it integrates with DevOps, and most importantly, as opposed to learning everything on AI, like, okay, some guys would say, I want to learn Snowflake, I want to learn Databricks, okay, this is the tool that's going to last for a long time and so forth. I would say, what is your use case? What is your organization using right now? What is the tooling that you guys have? Based on that, you need to come with your thought process. You need to come with your sort of a roadmap for building your career and also guide accordingly. And maybe, I mean, you can also have mentors in play where, in the organization, outside the organization, and so forth, where they can also guide you.
Great, Sanjay. Thank you so much for.
I see a question from Pratik. How do you balance the
Yes.
need for speed with ensuring stability and compliance? Awesome. And I would say that's a uh, $1 million question that has always been there. Engineers want to get the releases out faster, uh, and operations wants to be stable, while the security team wants to be compliant. So here I would call out very clearly either okay, be AI integration or not. Whatever you do has to be reliable, has to go through a gated approach. More importantly, it has to be validated, and also someone has to monitor the entire system from end to end flow. That is a must. I mean, you can't just say, okay, I build an agent and it is going to go and then provision everything. It is going to work fine and it is going to work in production. That's not the way it would be. You need to also test it, also have certain tests that would be not just based on the scenario. It should also be something that has to be reverse as well and validate that. For that, you can also work with the QA engineers. I would not call QA engineers as such. I mean, any engineer who does coding also needs to do quality checks as well, right? So you can also build those tests accordingly. Secondly, work with your production teams. Don't keep them in isolation. I mean, it's not something that you can just write your code and you say, okay, it's working fine, my UAT is working, and just push it onto them. You also need to train them, guide them when you're building some solutions. Make them part of your entire design thinking as well. Make them part of your requirement analysis too. Yep. And compliance, of course. I mean, I would say with AI, there's additional risk, there's additional cost, and I would say compliance issues as well. So, I mean, in our next session, we are going to discuss more in detail on tools and services and also on compliance, where I can talk about what are the frameworks that we can use within DevOps and within the engineering and for security teams, where they can follow a framework and we can still get our product out with quality and with compliance as well. And I would be focusing more on healthcare, or in case anyone has any specific choice, they can just put it on the chat. I will have those, I'll do those preparations accordingly as well. Next, I see Chaitanya Ambedkar, sorry. If you could go back to the start of your DevOps journey, what is one thing you would do differently? Uh, I'll go back maybe back in 2012 when I started. I built a team as called configuration management. The reason being, I was a developer and we had issues across implementing our products in the client environments, and also we had issues in terms of the reliability. And that's where we focus on, okay, what are the configurations and how we can build and so forth. However, we also made some mistakes. We focused one customer at a time initially, and that was, I would say, one of the things that I would do differently is as opposed to, focusing only on the customer. And of course, there are going to be bespoke customers as well. I would say focus on the product, how it's been implemented, and then create a sort of templatization across your customers as well. And I would say work hand in hand with the professional services team. That is the key. Yeah. I'll scroll down. Neha Chaturvedi in DevOps workflows rather than using stages that value. I'm completely in line with that. As opposed to just leveraging AI workflows or generating prompts, I would say understand the use case, understand the business, and based on that, you need to build those stages accordingly. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it has to be a gated approach. There has to be a criteria for each stage as well. Next session, I'm going to talk more in terms of how do we build a solution, how based on the use case, and then the various parameters that we can also look into. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for answering all these questions of our audience as well. And, and as Sanjay already said that, we will be soon coming up with a more in-depth session with him. So stay tuned with that for that. And before we close, I want to take a moment, to sincerely thank Sanjay for joining us today and taking time out of out of a busy schedule to contribute to an initiative like this is never easy. And we do truly appreciate the honesty, depth, and clarity you brought to this conversation, Sanjay. On behalf of Think Humble, thank you once again.